Right. So these are different prompt files normally we use when it comes to the generative AI. Whenever we are working on the Docker application, because Docker containers are something essentially useful as part of implementing generative AI, artificial intelligence, when it comes to the implementation side, especially from the development point of view, whenever we are working on generative AI side. So Docker is one of the prominent container tool we are using, because in the last session I have explained about the importance. So these are the different prompt files which normally we use, because if you want to import any kind of project, right? So because if you want to import any kind of projects and all everything, uh, whatever the different prompts do we have, right? So that needs to be extractable from the project, right? So wherein by if you want to add any kind of projects, and if you want to run any kind of SDLC tools, something either it can be waterfall or agile or something like. So whenever we are working on generative AI, especially when we are working on Docker container environment, there are different input prompts we have to give, right? So normally these prompts can be we can access it from the GitHub this thing repository, because GitHub is a widely used code repository tool, right? So we know it already in the last session, even GitHub repository, how this can be used, right? So how to create GitHub repositories and how to store the code data, all that I have explained you. Majorly, these are all something which will useful for us to convert the references. At the same time, we can also import our own prompt files, majorly allow us to quickly iterate and build custom prompts and all. So these are the sample prompts which I am explaining now in today's session. So in context to the Docker itself is concerned, these are the references will be taken, Git references, right? So generally these are the one which majorly useful for us to generate any kind of run book for any Docker projects and all. So this is what generally the tool which normally we use. And this is what generally the links will be used as far as prompts are concerned. Next, Docker files in context to that, which majorly to generate multi-stage Docker files for any kind of NPM projects and all. This is something which normally we will be using. So next one about the lazy Docker, which majorly useful for us to generate any kind of run book for any kind of lazy Docker and all. This is something which normally we will be using. Next, npm. This is one more file wherein to access this with GitHub platform. It means if you want to respond any kind of helpful information for any kind of npm projects, this npm file is something we use it. Next one, ESL int, right? So this is what generally used when we are connecting, and if you want to run any kind of ESLs into the projects, so this ESL int is something which file will be used here. Next, ESL int FIX. So this is majorly used to run ESLs into the projects and all, so that whatever the responses uh, for the means if you want to fix it, any responses or something like. So at the same time, if there is any kind of violations were identified, everything can be seen over here. This is for ESL int FIX. Next one is about PY-lint. This is majorly useful for us to useful in the projects, majorly if you want to respond within a fixed time for the violations, if there is anything happens and all, that can be seen over here. So these are the different sample prompt files which normally we will be using whenever we are working on the Docker application, right? So because different prompt files which can be used, right? So these are the different prompt files we will be using whenever we are working on generative AI platform, when we are working on the Docker. This is something how to create these prompt files and how this can be used for the projects and all that I'm going to discuss, because anyway tomorrow I'm going to start the project. There you will be learning how this can be done, how this can be implemented. All that good stuff I'm going to discuss in tomorrow's session. Okay. See you.